Hey friends, it's Carly and I'm so happy you're here. Today I want to share with you a sweet treat. So it just makes sense to me that the Pretty Pink Posh candy bucket dies should be made into something that actually holds candy. So we're going to do that. We're going to make this into a little treat holder. So I've die cut the bucket shape 8 times. I've got 6 white and 2 pink. And I'm going to layer them up 3 white and a pink so that it has some good stability since we're making it into an actual holder. And also because we're going to be adding some glossy accents on top. So I really want it to be nice and sturdy. So after everything is all layered up, I'm going to give it a little bit of shading with a blending tool. And I didn't even ink my blending tool up. This is just the ink that was left over on my tool. And I'm going to be putting glossy accents on top of this, so I probably could have been a little more dramatic with the shading, but that's okay. It was fun to do. Then I'm going to make a loop of low-tack tape onto an acrylic block, and this is going to be where I hold my little bucket while I glossy accent it. Yeah, that's a verb now. This is just the way I do things with glossy accents so that I can add my glossy accents and then move the project away from me so I won't accidentally drop something in it, smudge it with my finger, or whatnot while it's trying to dry. So that's really the only reason for doing the glossy accents this way, but it is so helpful. Okay, so you can see I got a few little air bubbles in my glossy accents, so I just grabbed my craft pick and I'm kind of dragging them out. Like, they didn't really pop, but I'm just pulling them out with my craft pick to get rid of them. Sometimes you can pop them too. It's a great way to deal with bubbles. Of course, I'm going to put glitter on top, so that would have hit all the bubbles, so probably didn't need to bother with that, but now you know. Okay, so now I'm sprinkling some glitter on those wet glossy accents, and then I can set this whole block aside and let it dry. Okay, so while that's drying, we're gonna work on our container. So I've got a piece of cardstock that is 3.5 by 9.5, and I picked the size based on the size I wanted the box to be behind my bucket. So I wanted to be as tall as the bucket and then narrow enough that it wouldn't show. Now I'm scoring this piece at 2, 4.5, 6.5, and 9. Then I'm flipping it the other direction and scoring at 1.5, and this is gonna give me all the folds that I need. Before I fold those score lines, I'm going to go ahead and trim them with a pair of scissors and create some tabs. And this just makes it a little bit easier to fold. You can see I'm just using scissors and eyeballing it. They're not perfect. They're not even all the same angle, and that's totally fine. It's not even going to show. It just makes it a little bit easier to fold. And you could totally skip this step and just cut up the score lines up the 1.5 part up to there. You wouldn't want to cut all the way. You know what I mean. Okay. Okay, so then I'm gonna fold all of my scored lines and give it a burnish with my bone folder to make sure those creases are nice and crisp, and then I can start assembling. Now, liquid glue is usually my go-to for so many things, but for boxes, I really like double-sided tape. I don't know why, it just feels sturdier. Also, you don't have to wait for the drying time, so that's nice. So I've got the side tabs put together, and now the bottom tabs. I'm giving a little press to make sure it just sticks, and now I've got my box, and I can start adding in my little decorations. So I've got my glittered pumpkin, and then I have one that's also just a plain glossy pumpkin. But before I put them on the box, I should probably add the jack-o'-lantern face. Yeah. This I am going to use liquid glue for. Now, the funny reason I even decided to make this little treat box, because I've totally made this style of treat box before, but like a traditional pumpkin orange. But all over social media right now, I'm seeing so many people take the traditional like plastic jack-o'-lantern pumpkin and kind of give it a glow up and make it pink and sparkly and put ribbons on it. And I was like, well, I want a pink sparkly pumpkin. That sounds really fun. And so now I have one. Anyway, I get sidetracked. So I glued the mouth on and gave it a good press for a minute to make sure it's really stuck down onto that glossy accent surface. And then the eyes and the nose are still in the scrap of cardstock that I cut them from, which is so nice sometimes because then I can just put it down and fit the bottom to the mouth where it came from, and then just carefully press on those pieces with my tweezers so that they will transfer to the glossy pumpkin. And of course, you're going to see that, oops, we missed an eye. But it's okay, you can just go back and fix it. Okay, now that the poor guy has all his eyes, I'm going to add the little handle of the pail. Now, it doesn't really function. Like, I realize this is kind of unnecessary because this little handle isn't going to do much, but it's just going to look really cute. So I die cut 3 of them to add some sturdiness, and I'm just layering them together with some liquid glue. Okay, now that I've got all of the pieces, it's really final assembly time, I think. So I've put some of that strong double-sided tape on the front of the box I made, but I'm also putting a little bit of liquid glue. So hopefully that will help give me a little extra second to kind of move things around and make sure they're lined up the way I want. And I'm positioning this box on here so that it's at the same place as the top of the bucket, but that it's a little bit above the bottom of the bucket. And then on the second side, I completely forgot the tape, but you know what? That's okay. It worked out. It's still holding firm, so totally fine. You just want to match where the front and the back are so that they line up. Giving it an extra good press to make sure it's really stuck on there. And then I'm going to add the little bucket handle on top. I'm going to put that on the back of the front jack-o'-lantern, if that makes sense, the back of the front bucket piece. That way it'll be kind of in front of whatever I put in the bucket, and it'll just look cute there even though it's not functional. Okay, the candy bucket glow up is complete. It is pink, it is sparkly and glossy. I love it, and I love it even more when it is filled with candy. That is totally the fun part. And there it is, finished and filled with candy. It's all glittery and glossy. I love how it turned out. I think that there is so much potential, not just for Halloween, but for all year. So if you don't have the candy bucket set, I highly recommend. And in fact, I recommend checking out all of the Pretty Pink Posh Halloween. They do some of the best Halloween stuff. Thank you so much for stopping by. Have a wonderful day and happy crafting.